Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still watching The Breakfast Show live on Nile TV International. It's now time for our second and final topic of discussion in today's episode. And as we noted earlier in our introduction, we're going to be talking about the International Day of Yoga, or commonly and unofficially referred to as the Yoga Day, and is celebrated annually on the 21st of June since its inception in 2015. And yoga is a physical, mental, and spiritual practice attributed mostly to India. And to shed more light on this topic, we're most delighted to be joined over the phone by His Excellency Mr. Ajit Gupte, Ambassador of India to Egypt. A very good morning, Your Excellency, and thank you so much for joining us on The Breakfast Show.
Hello.
Mr. Ambassador, a very good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, good morning.
Ambassador, first of all, India and Egypt, two of the world's oldest civilizations, have enjoyed a history of close contact from ancient times. Can you please shed more light about how deep the relations between India and Egypt are?
Yes, well, India and Egypt are two of the world's oldest civilizations, and we have had many centuries of close historical contact. Thousands of years ago, the great Indian Emperor Ashoka had referred to his relations with Egypt under Ptolemy II. In the 20th century, the leader of our freedom movement, Mahatma Gandhi, and the great Egyptian leader Saad Zaghloul had met, and they had had discussions on their common goals on independence of both countries. In the 1950s, there was very close friendship between President Nasser and India's Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, which led to a friendship treaty between India and Egypt in 1955. And our leaders had together formed the non-aligned movement. In recent years, there has been continuous exchange of high-level visits. Indian prime ministers have visited Egypt 4 times. From Egypt also, there have been a number of visits. In the very recent, in the last few years, the relationship has further strengthened. President Fateh el-Sisi has visited India in 2015 and on a state visit in 2016. The foreign ministers of both countries had met in 2018, and there has also been an exchange of visits between the defense ministers and several other ministers, like our shipping minister had come in 2015 for the opening of the new Suez Canal. Our external affairs minister had last come in 2015. Our Minister of State for Parliamentary and Minority Affairs had visited in 2015. I look forward now to further strengthening of relations between India and Egypt.
Your Excellency...
we also have very close cultural relations. We have a very active cultural center. There is great respect for India in Egypt, and Indian Bollywood is very popular, and yoga has also become extremely popular.
Yeah, speaking about yoga, sir, can you please tell us more about the day and who was behind the idea of the International Day of Yoga?
Yes. Well, actually, the idea was of our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is a very ardent fan of yoga. He has been practicing yoga and also the Indian, pranayam, which means breathing exercises. He has been doing this for many years, and actually it is very well known that he has tremendous energy, a lot of concentration, and as he himself has said, he sleeps only for 4 or 5 hours. But yoga is the secret for his energy, and yoga actually it can be done very easily. So it does not require any equipment. It can be done in a room. It can be practiced in the morning. Particularly, it's very beneficial. So he proposed that an International Day of Yoga be recognized by the United Nations. Mm-hmm. And accordingly, this idea was proposed in September 2014, a few months after Prime Minister Modi was elected, and with a huge majority. In fact, 177 countries, including Egypt, supported the resolution to recognize International Day of Yoga on the 21st of June.
Is there a specific reason, Your Excellency, behind choosing the 21st of June, the day itself? Does it coincide with an incident or a specific coincidence for choosing this date?
Yes, yes. Well, as everyone knows, 21st of June is the longest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere. And it is known as the summer solstice. And it is the day when the are the longest. In Indian mythology and in our ancient scriptures, because as I said, India also is such an ancient civilization, so we have a reason for doing everything. The story is that the first Shiva, the first yogi, started imparting the knowledge of yoga to others in India on this day, and he became known as Adi Guru. So, it is an auspicious day. 21st of June is supposed to be a very auspicious day. It's also the longest day, and it marks the beginning of a phase known as Dakshin Ayana. So that is why it was decided that 21st of June be celebrated as the International Day of Yoga.
Your Excellency, how is the day celebrated worldwide?
Well, I must say that in the last few years, yoga has become extremely popular all over the world. And even in India, thanks to the initiative taken by our Prime Minister, it has become much more popular and is now being done by hundreds of millions of people. In my diplomatic assignments also, I have found that it has really picked up. So what we do is that on the 21st of June, the Indian embassies and consulates all over the world, they organize a gathering of usually some prominent people and people who do yoga. We try and do this. Of course, we do it most of the time outside in the open, and we try and choose a good location, an iconic location. Of course, because of the pandemic, we are now taking precautions since last year. But usually it is done in very well-known famous people, and we try and collect and invite famous people. And we practice a sort of set of yogasanas or positions which are defined as the common yoga protocol. Because many forms of yoga have come up, so there is a common yoga protocol which has been evolved, which is a set of exercises and meditation which can be done over about 35-40 minutes, and this is of great benefit. So this is what is practiced in India and all over the world. In Egypt,
yes.
Also we have been practicing this since 2015. In fact, in 2019, it was celebrated in Cairo, in Ismaila, and Minia. This year, we are organizing two events, even though the pandemic is on. So we will be doing it in very small numbers. The main event is being held on 21st of June at 5 p.m., where we expect the Honorable Minister of Youth and Sports to be present as the chief guest. This will be at the Child Museum in Heliopolis. And I am myself hosting a very limited event on the 19th of June at my residence at India House on the banks of the Nile. This is for diplomats and some well-known personalities from Egypt.
Ambassador, as we're wrapping up, I'd like to hear your closing remarks.
Well, what I would like to emphasize is that yoga does not require any equipment. It is simple. Some people feel that it means very complicated positions, but that is not correct. You can do whatever you feel like, but it really, and I can say so personally, that yoga helps to increase one's immunity, which is very important during the pandemic. Because the main fight that we have during the pandemic against COVID-19 is how strong we are internally, how is our immunity. Yoga can also help to combat stress and bring about more mental peace. So it is something that I recommend very strongly to everyone. And one can start yoga at any age, even if one is quite old. One can start doing yoga, and it does not leave any harmful effects. It is difficult in old age to start doing very hectic sports, but something like yoga can be done by anyone, and I strongly recommend it to everybody.
Ambassador Ajit Gupte, Ambassador of India to Egypt, we really thank you, Your Excellency, for your contribution, and thank you so much for joining us on The Breakfast Show. And dear viewers, by this, we come to the end of today's episode of The Breakfast Show on Nile TV International. Just a quick recap of what we discussed. We talked about the outcome of the G7 summit that was held recently, and we also talked about the International Day of Yoga, marked every year on the 21st of June. Dear viewers, you're in the company of myself, Karim Gamaluddin, and my colleague Dina Hussain. Until we meet again, this is goodbye.